Good morning. This is the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Wednesday, January 11th. Looking at the overall pattern, it's been a wet one. The past week, you see tons of precipitation, 6 to 8 inches, even more, locally 10 inches of rain and liquid equivalent of heavy snow in the mountains across the Sierra, bleeding into a good portion of western Nevada, and these green to yellow areas indicate a ½ inch to an inch and a half of precipitation. You can see that's above normal here across much of the central Great Basin from the Sierra all the way through the Wasatch up into parts of southern Idaho. Elsewhere, a bit drier further north. The storm track has been dragging a bit further south. That has wetted down the fuels, see the 100-hour fuels, even down into southern Nevada and the Arizona Strip, well into extremely moist levels as they have been for a while up north. And you can see the snow continues to fall. These dark brown colors here indicate somewhere of 2 to 3 or over 3 feet of snow, 1 to 2 feet in the Wasatch into the higher terrain of Idaho and parts of western Wyoming. The overall snow cover on the map covers a lot of areas, even into the middle elevations as well. So for a lot of areas, especially in the mountains, pile burning is probably the only main option at this point. Our snowpack looking really good, over 200% of normal, in some cases up to 270 to over 300% of normal across the Sierra into the mountains of Utah. And even above normal up in Idaho, still maybe about 15 to 30% above normal through there. And this was a picture taken over the weekend over on the summit near Park City. These are skiers, and this is part of the 20 to 25 feet of snow windblown into a cornice that has fallen so far this season, and more storminess on the way. You can see a huge plume of Pacific moisture moving on shore, a deep low coming out of the Gulf of Alaska, one storm system exiting Utah and pushing it into Wyoming, the next one on its heels already moving onshore to California. So here's that storm system on Wednesday, already pushing into a good portion of Nevada. A brief dry tongue of air pushes into the eastern Great Basin today. No issues on our 7-day. A larger view shows that we still have some fire concerns here across parts of New Mexico and West Texas. As there is some drier air way out there, but not for us. You can see our humidities. These are the driest minimum afternoon humidities, mostly above 60% in most areas. Transport winds on the left. Mixing heights here for anyone still doing burning. The yellows and oranges are excellent mixing heights. Some inversions where you see the purple shades. On Thursday, high pressure briefly builds in across the Great Basin. Next cold front with precipitation just offshore. You can see again the minimum humidities, no major issues. Winds picking up across western areas, light winds across central and eastern portions of the Great Basin. And there could be some inversions with the snow cover and brief clear skies mixing in, especially northeastern Nevada, parts of Utah and the Snake River Plain. But there's that next storm system on Friday. Precipitation moderate to heavy. Northern California, western Nevada, parts of western Idaho. The winds, transport winds picking up out of there, out of the southwest. Minimum humidity still high. So again, any burning probably got to be piles unless you're burning some brush way down in Vegas where humidities could get down into the upper 20% range. Still some inversions lingering in eastern areas, otherwise good vertical mixing the further west you go. Transport winds, again, we talked about those. 3-day precipitation totals, there's that next storm system pushing into northern California and the Pacific Northwest and bleeding into parts of the Great Basin. On Saturday, there's that deep low pressure moving onshore across the far northern California area into southern Oregon. Heavy amounts of rain and snow. That storm system pushes inland. More blobs of moisture moving on in, and that moisture, this dark green area, basically indicates where it's going to be overcast with precipitation falling. Encompasses about 90% of the Great Basin. Maybe southeast Utah could get a brief respite on Monday before they get more on Tuesday with that little low pressure moving here. Brief drying across the western Great Basin on Tuesday, but there's that next storm system dropping down out of the Gulf of Alaska, bringing precipitation into the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. That'll push into the Great Basin by the middle to latter parts of next week. So this is precipitation Saturday morning through Monday morning. Moderate to heavy amounts here in the Sierra, widespread elsewhere, and then pushing across the rest of the Great Basin. This is Monday morning through next Wednesday morning, with more on the way. These are the totals for the entire 7-day period, covering just about all areas of the Great Basin. No relief in sight from the storminess on the 8 to 14-day outlook. This is January 18th to the 24th. Cooler than normal temperatures across the whole Great Basin, and wetter than normal conditions expected to continue. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.